The final rudiment of our four primary rudiments is known as the Ruff, R-U-F-F. It also has a couple of other names. It's sometimes called a drag, D-R-A-G. I like to refer to it often as a three-stroke roll because the double grace notes are the articulation that you would play if you were playing a very short roll. The grace notes of a traditional Ruff occur in relation to the principal note as two 30-second notes. So they would sound like this. 1D and da-da 2D and da-da 1D and da-da 2D and da-da 1. 1D and D and. Now you notice the hand position is exactly the hand position of the flam. All you're doing is playing two grace notes in the low hand position, and you're playing them as though you were playing a flam. So it's said da-da, D-A-D-A, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff. Here it is. Those are the 30-second note sounds. 1 and da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff, da-da Ruff. That in traditional rudimental drumming is one of the most accepted sounds for the grace note and the principal note of the Ruff. The second type of Ruff, or three-stroke roll or drag, has the grace notes performed as two 64th notes. They're twice as fast as the 30-second note grace notes, and they sound like this. 1 and. So interestingly, when I played those 30-second note grace notes, I was actually using my wrist, like I was playing a wrist stroke roll. So if that was a roll, that would be the speed of the grace notes. When I played the 64th note grace notes, I was actually playing the two grace notes as though I was playing a fully controlled, bounced roll, because they were going like this. Let's take that sound, I'll turn that into a roll. Now you see we're back to a controlled bounce roll. So that's the relationship, and that's the articulation of the second kind. The third kind of Ruff is known as a buzz press Ruff. That's where it's performed in the same position as the 64th note Ruff, but it's buzzed. The sticks are buzzed. That's pressed into the drum so that they are allowed to vibrate quickly as though you were playing a concert snare drum roll, which means the kind of roll you would play in a concert orchestra or a band, meaning an actual orchestra or a band. Here's that sound. So it's a multiple bounce grace note. When it's put with the principal note, it sounds like this. So those are the three primary categories of the grace notes. The 30-second note grace note and the 64th note grace note go from being a traditional rudimental style, and you'll see both of those grace notes in rudimental drumming. I could go like this. One more time. Or I could go like this. Or I could buzz press it. But in any case, it would probably be a more military part of orchestral drumming to have that ruff performed in that style of music. So it would either be the buzz press sound, or if it was an actual part where you were performing a military type band section of the music, it might sound like this, or probably would. You see the very fast grace notes that are open, or the grace notes that are closed and meshed into the drum. The fourth kind of ruff is the one that I've actually been teaching my entire career, and it falls into a category that is far less known. I've actually looked it up recently in Google, and I found very few references to it, just spotted references throughout the internet. I'm going to be playing a lot of the Wilcoxon solos in what I call the rudimental swing style ruff, so that the grace notes are treated as swing style triplets. I'll give you two versions of that before we delve in to the solos. The first one is where you put the two grace notes in tripletized style before the principal note. By the nature of the way that's written and the nature of the way it occurs, it slows down the performance. There's only so much speed that you can get from it. So here's that sound, and I'll use a right hand articulation. That's it. I'm about there. If I went much faster, it probably would go, it probably would start buzzing on me. So there's a limitation to when I'm putting the principal note after the two grace notes. But let's put the two grace notes before the principal note. So now I'll be going, I think I turned that around. I want the principal note first, and then the two grace notes, my next articulation. So I'm going tap da da. So the first way are the two grace notes first and then the principal note. If I go into the second sticking for that, I will be doing the opposite sticking. Instead of going left, left, right, I'll be going right, right, left. So now I've used all the combinations that you can use, and I'll be going back and forth in triplet style. And if you, that's right, if you feel that, you're going to feel your hands just freeze on you. It's a very difficult articulation. But if I do it the other style, not having the two grace notes first, then you're not so limited by the articulation. I know I'm repeating myself. I want to make sure I've done it very clearly to you. So instead of the grace notes being first, I'm going to have the grace notes now being second. Or and I'm not trying to show off, believe me, I'm just trying to make this an educational moment for you. But I have been doing this kind of drumming for many years, and I've got an impulse that I'll follow inside to want to show you why the tripletized grace notes are so important. So I'm going to finish up this introduction to the 4 principal sounds by improvising a solo made up of the triplet grace notes, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I'm not sure you've heard something quite like this before, and it'll be something that I'll be teaching as I go through the Wilcoxon book. I think the famous solo in the Wilcoxon book may be solo 28. If I'm wrong, we'll correct it as I'm going through the book. But that's the one that teaches all of these different styles. So here's a little improvisation based on the triplet. Hope you enjoy it. I was running out of ideas there at the end, so I'll take the first part of that, and I think that was the best. I hope you enjoy that introduction to the 4 primary rudiments. I'll be joining you soon as I start to trek my way through the entire 150 solos in Charles Wilcoxon's famous book. See you later.